Hey Jason.
Hey Garth, how's it going?
Good man, how are you?
Yes, good to see you again, man.
Yeah, good to see you too. But I do miss someone on this show. I miss the characters of Ted Lasso.
I miss him too, Garth.
Yeah, yeah. I miss them because when I've watched Ted Lasso, I always felt good. There was emotions swinging around, and I'm wondering, do you have a special memory of watching Ted Lasso, maybe with someone or at a particular time where it hit just right?
You know what? I do actually. I remember in the darkest days of COVID,
Mm,
watching it with my wife Sarah, flipping it on, and thinking there is a ray of light out there. It's gonna be okay. It's okay to laugh, and they're trying to bring that to us. I'm gonna watch this whole damn thing, and I might even make a podcast about it. Just kidding. I didn't think about that. But I have that vivid memory of sitting in some of those dark days and the
yeah,
positivity of the show shining through. What about
yeah.
you?
Yeah, there's a couple episodes that stand out, and for me, it was like season three when Rebecca was in Amsterdam, and she met the guy on the boat,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
I
yeah,
just
yeah,
and I just remember thinking, she's come so far. She's just like such a great person now, and I hope this man and her have a great relationship. It was hope, it was
yeah,
optimism, and it always left me with like, there's something to look forward to. There's something
yeah,
positive that's coming out of this, and that is actually the theme that we're going to dive into this weekend.
yeah.
See that segue? That was pretty good.
Yeah, and thinking of something to look forward to. I hope everybody's looking forward to this episode, Garth,
Yeah,
and the ones to come. This is
yeah,
a banger. I think people are
yeah.
gonna feel really positive about it when they're done. So, listeners, I hope you enjoy the show. What do you say? Should we get to it, Garth?
Let's get started.
With Garth and Jason, we dive right in. Breaking down Ted's world, let's begin. From AFC, Richmond's field to your day to day. Lassoing leadership's here to stay. Keep leading the lasso way. Together we'll grow stronger every day. So plug in your headphones and let's start the show. With lessons from Ted, we'll learn and grow.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Lassoing Leadership. I'm your host, Garth Nichols,
And I'm Jason Rogers.
and this is episode 3, I think, of our second season of amazing stuff. And this episode, we're talking about positivity.
You know, Garth, this whole podcast has been a journey of positivity, and I've got some really, really big news to share with you. I
Oh
don't know
yeah,
if you know this or not.
I don't know.
This is our 50th anniversary, Garth, you and I.
What?
50th episode of what was to be 3 episodes of a series. This is you and me, and 50 conversations together. How are you feeling?
Amazing. Well, this fills my bucket. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
So I'm all up for it.
Well, happy anniversary, buddy. Here we are
Thanks. Happy
today.
anniversary, Jason.
Of course, today in the next 15 minutes, we'll look at the definition of positivity in our leadership practice. Next episode, we get to interview an expert. And the third one, we're back to listener Q&A.
Yeah, can't wait to get into this one because, as you said, it's been a positive thing, but in leadership, positivity, positive outlook plays such an important role. So I'm looking forward to it.
I'm positive this is going to be awesome, Garth. Why don't we get right into it?
All right, this season of our podcast, we dive deep into 10 main leadership themes that have surfaced throughout season 1 and throughout the entire 3 seasons of Ted Lasso. And while you don't have to have been with us through season 1, it was a goodie, and I think it's worth listening to.
Or re-listening to as well.
Yeah,
We'll actually highlight some of season 1 because it's such incredible guests join us throughout and help us dig into how we might lead in a kinder, more compassionate way. And we all know that the world needs more of that. And so we keep building on this in season 2 and sharing it with our circles in our world. And we hope you continue to share it as well.
Yeah, and we're calling our approach like a leadership coach model, so to speak. And so this week we start with how positivity shows up in our practices, and then we'll have an amazing guest to help us dive deeper into positivity. And then, as Jason said earlier, we'll take questions from you, our listeners, for our 3rd episode to wrap that up, and then we move on to our next one.
So if you're looking, we'd love to hear from you. So submit your questions in person over text. We have lassoingleadership@gmail.com, LinkedIn, Spotify comments, you name it. We're here to listen to you, and we love taking your questions. So
Yeah.
let's get started. Garth, let's get into it. What is positivity in leadership, and how does it play out in leadership? What do you think?
Yeah, I consider myself a positive guy. I consider myself having a positive outlook. But when it comes to thinking about positivity in leadership, I think beyond just focusing on encouraging positive behavior and positive language, it goes
Mm-hmm.
beyond that. So rather than focusing on what not to do, I think being positive is about focusing on growth and learning.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, the word fail, you look at it as an acronym, FAIL, your first attempt in learning. I love that. I think
Mm-hmm.
about using language that inspires and motivates and builds confidence. And I think when it comes to confidence, it's like the power of the word yet. And we've probably all heard this before, but when you add yet at the end of a sentence of something that's negative, it turns it into a positive. But I also think about hope too, hope for the future. And here's where I think a positive attitude really comes from. It comes from having like a long-term vision. And what I mean by that is, as a leader, you have to take care of the here and now. Yes. But also looking beyond the longer term, tapping into your vision tells you that the here and now is not the most important thing, and it's not
Mm-hmm.
that dire. So if you think of this as like a story, the here and now of the story can be difficult, challenging. Maybe you made a mistake or an error that's costly. But know that this too shall pass, and it's only part of the story. It's only a page that you and your team, or even your students in your classroom, that you're writing. And so I think having that long-term view always allows you to give that room to move, that room to navigate through challenges, to keep the forward momentum towards continuous improvement.
Well, Garth, I think, your point, the 2 points sticking with me in your comments really are, first of all, vision is this positive outlook,
Mm.
saying, sharing, living, this is where we're going and this is how we're going to get there, knowing that there's going to be ups and downs, successes and failures in there. And I love the way you've spun failure, first attempt in learning or at learning. Is incredibly empowering, and I think that's super super positive in its own right. And as I was thinking about positivity too, Garth, I think we can't talk about positivity without talking about the elephant in the room around positivity. And I think a lot of people think about toxic positivity when
Ooh, yeah,
it's kind
yeah,
of the flip side of that.
yeah. So what do you make of it? Like, what is toxic positivity to you, Jason?
Yeah. Well, and I think for our listeners, we may all have a slightly unique or different definition of this, but to me, toxic positivity is the overemphasis of positivity on, and ignoring real challenges. And it can be
Mm.
damaging, I think, in leadership settings. It can be dismissive of people you're working with. While positivity, I truly believe, is crucial for fostering motivation and supporting an environment, leaders must balance it with a grounded sense of realism, right?
Yeah,
Because we're living in a real world. I think overly optimistic leadership can make employees feel pressured to hide their struggles and emotions,
yeah,
pushing down vulnerability, leading to burnout and disconnection. And lots of people have written about this stuff. You see it in Psychology Today. They state that toxic positivity can result in invalidation and real feelings, leaving individuals feeling misunderstood, dismissed. Harvard's
yeah.
Business Reviews talked about it. And they say, while optimism and leadership is a strength, failing to acknowledge genuine issues can erode trust between leaders and their teams. And we know how important trust is in our work. So, really to close on that point, I think leaders should aim to strike the balance by creating space for open dialogue about both success and challenges, about the future and the current or the past. Acknowledging struggles doesn't mean we're being negative. We can be constructively positive all the while. It means being honest. By showing empathy and encouraging a culture where all emotions are valid, leaders can
Mm.
create more authentic and resilient workplaces. Positive leadership should inspire hope and growth, but it must also be rooted in understanding of real issues.
No, I love that. That's
Thanks, man.
Jason. You've reminded me. I saw something. I can't remember where I saw it, but I'll dig it up. And
Yeah.
it's actually from an aircraft carrier. It's like this is like the way they do things.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a story. I might get it wrong, but very quickly, someone who's working on the deck went to their direct report and said, "I've lost a wrench."
Yeah.
And everything shuts down. They have to go find the wrench. They don't know where it is. They have to go find the wrench. because if that wrench is around, it might fly up into a jet intake, or it might block up the system in some way. So they find it, and then the next day, the person who came to the direct report and lost the wrench is then celebrated. This is what it means to make a mistake. It doesn't mean hiding it. It doesn't mean shying away from responsibility. It means owning it. And you have saved us. Thank you very much. So I love that idea of striking a balance between open dialogue of both successes and challenges. I think that is such a skill that leaders can deploy to build a great culture.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
But let's get you mentioned a couple things, like what are we reading, watching, listening to that our listeners can grab onto and join in. We'll put some of this in our show notes for sure. But we want to get our listeners to ask us questions for the upcoming podcast. So for me, positivity, I just love Sean Acor's TED Talk from, I don't know how many years ago, Jason, but it's a great listen. You learn a lot about positive psychology. It's funny, it's humorous, it's personal. Can we play a quick clip?
When I was 7 years old and my sister was just 5 years old, we were playing on top of a bunk bed. I was 2 years older than my sister at the time. I mean, I'm 2 years older than her now, but at the time that meant she had to do everything that I wanted to do, and I wanted to play war. So we were up on top of our bunk beds, and on one side of the bunk bed, I had put out all my G.I. Joe soldiers and weaponry, and on the other side were all my sister's Milos and ponies and ready for a cavalry charge. There are differing accounts of what actually happened that afternoon, but since my sister is not here with us today, let me tell you the true story. Which is my sister is a little bit on the clumsy side, and somehow, without any help or push from her older brother at all, suddenly Amy disappeared off of the top of the bunk bed and landed with this crash on the floor. And I nervously peered over the side of the bed to see what had befallen my fallen sister, and saw that she had landed painfully on her hands and knees on all fours on the ground. I was nervous because my parents had charged me with making sure that my sister and I played as safely and as quietly as possible. And seeing as how I had accidentally broken Amy's arm just 1 week before, heroically pushing her out of the way of an oncoming imaginary sniper bullet, for which I have yet to be thanked. I was trying as hard as I could. She didn't even see it coming. I was trying as hard as I could to be on my best behavior, and I saw my sister's face this wail of pain and suffering and surprise, threatening to erupt from her mouth and threatening to wake my parents from the long winter's nap for which they had settled. So I did the only thing my little frantic 7-year-old brain could think to do to avert this tragedy. If you have children, you've seen this hundreds of times before. I said, Amy, wait, don't cry, don't cry. Did you see how you landed? No human lands on all fours like that. Amy, I think this means you're a unicorn. Now that was cheating, because there's nothing in the world my sister would want more than not to be Amy the hurt 5-year-old little sister, but Amy the special unicorn. Of course, this was an option that was open to her brain at no point in the past, and you could see on my poor, manipulated sister's face conflict, as her little brain attempted to devote resources to feeling the pain and suffering surprise she just experienced, or contemplating her newfound identity as a unicorn. And the latter won out. Instead of crying, instead of ceasing our play, instead of waking my parents with all the negative consequences that would have ensued for me, instead, a smile spread across her face, and she scrambled right back up onto the bunk bed with all the grace of a baby unicorn. With one broken leg. What we stumbled across.
I'm an amateur editor, but I'm going to do my best. Let's hit play. Here we go.
Okay.
So powerful. Garth, that is an amazing clip, and I encourage people to go back and check out the whole recording. Again, it'll be in our show notes. Garth, you got any more than a unicorn to share with our listeners?
Yeah, sure. Listeners, and we'll link in your show notes, the Mindset Mentor, how to change your brain with positive thinking. It's actually a skill you can develop over time. There's a lot of practices of just writing down 3 things you're grateful for every day, and how that actually changes what your brain looks for in the world. So I think that's really important. And then the Mayo Clinic, this is based in like the psychology of the brain, the actual physical structure of the brain. They've got a great article, The Power of Positive Thinking. And these are quick reads to help us broaden our understanding of what positivity can mean in our leadership practice. But Jason, I think you've got a couple of bigger bites for our listeners.
I kind of leaned into a few books here, and I hope people take us up on this as well. I mean, The Happiness Advantage, by Sean Aker, again, is a deep dive into what he talks about in the TED Talk. So if that resonated with you, get into it. I think it's really encouraging. Dare to Lead. We come back to Brene Brown time and time again, but she talks about the importance of vulnerability, empathy, connection in leadership, and ultimately that's how we uplift one another through authentic leadership in our schools and positivity. And the biggest one that I want to talk about is a book that I came across, I think in the 90s in my master's degree, called Encouraging the Heart, and it's by Kouzes and Posner. I'm sure you can still find it on Amazon. And, this has always been the one I come back to. It's my playbook.
All right. Well, tell us about it.
Okay. So
sounds really interesting, especially if you remember it from the 90s.
Yeah. And I mean, I've got it right here, Garth. Those who are watching, this is the book, always in the office. And I mean, the key points are the importance of recognition, and here are the 7 essentials of encouraging the heart. And they dive into all of these. So I'll quickly go through them. Setting clear standards and boundaries. I think that sometimes overlooked. I think when we talk about positivity, being clear is kind, right, Garth? Expect the best. It reminds me of the 4 agreements. Everybody is doing their best. Pay attention to small wins, really leaning into those. Personalized recognition. Tell the story. But first, before you can tell the story, Garth, you got to hear the story. You got to see the story. You got to feel it, right? You have to be present, celebrate together, and set the example. I really think if you follow these 7 steps as put forward in Encouraging the Heart, I think we are going to find a way to a better, kinder, more compassionate, more positive way to lead.
Nice. I love that. Hey, and listen, these are great resources. And we talked a little bit about what positivity means, but we will also have an amazing guest on the show too.
Garth, I am looking forward to this one, and I think our listeners are in for a real treat. I understand you know them from your time back at Queen's and university. Why don't you tease it a little bit for those who are going to come along on episode 2 of this positivity road trip we're on?
Awesome. So our next guest is an author, and as Jason said, I got to know her really well at university, and it's great to reconnect over this podcast. She's an author of a great book, and her name is, drumroll please,
on it.
All right, awesome. Her name is Julie Cass, and her book is called Me First. It's available on Amazon. I actually got it off Audible and listened to it because she narrates the book. She's a great human. She has great energy. Her story is awesome. And listeners, if you can, check out Me First before you just get the book, and then listen to the first couple of chapters. She shares her journey of challenge, joy, and a lot of change too. So can't wait to have her on the pod. It's going to be really exciting. But Jason, as we start to wrap up, what's a leadership challenge that we can offer our listeners that might be a great way to get insights, ideas, and comments or questions from them too? What
great idea, Garth.
What can we leave them with? Yeah.
I'm glad we're back to the leadership challenge. I've had some really positive feedback over the last little while about how leadership challenges have changed some of our listeners' leadership over time. So let's get into it. I want to take us all the way back to our episode 2 Aces in season 1. And when the team in Ted Lasso looked to break the curse, they burned things in a can to vanquish the ghosts of past tragedies, I guess. And since we're talking about positivity, we'd like to ask our listeners, what are some things that are holding you back from being positive? What might you burn in order to push yourself back into a positive space? I mean, look that trauma right in the eye, figure out what's holding you back, I name it to tame it, as I say, and get moving forward in a positive way. What do you think, Garth?
Yeah, I love it. What might we let go of? What might we reframe in our lives that will allow us to be more authentic and positive in our leadership with ourselves and with others too? So there it is, listeners. There is your challenge. We'd love to hear from you on this. And so take us up on it. Get in touch with us.
So check those out. Check out all the resources. I hope you pick up 1 or 2 of them throughout the time. If you have any questions or ideas you'd like to share with us, we're here. And that's a wrap on, Theme 2, Episode 1. If you like what you're hearing, thank you for listening, first of all. And be sure to subscribe, tell your friends, pass it along, and don't hesitate to get in touch with us over email or any other way.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody. Until next time, keep leading the lasso away.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Happy.
Step up to the mic. It's time to play. Lassoing leadership every day. From the pitch to the boardroom, lessons call to mind. Keep leading the lasso way. You'll find we've got heart, we've got soul, and humor too. Exploring how TED shows what leaders should do. With Garth and Jason, we dive right in, breaking down Ted's world. Let's begin from AFC Richmond's field to your day-to-day. Lassoing leadership's here to stay. Keep leading the lasso way. Together we'll grow stronger every day. So plug in your headphones and let's start the show. With lessons from TED, we'll learn and grow.